that?
Just excellent.
Amazing. I know it. Okay, well, the last on the list is Colonel Dan Freeman.
Oh, good.
Dan is a retired Air Force pilot. He had 30 years in the U.S. Air Force. He had over 300 missions in Vietnam during his time. He claims that he's completely retired today. I don't know, perhaps. Dan, he gave you a pedigree a mile long. I think it's better, Dan, if you could chat.
My purpose is to make this brief, but I have two very significant discussion items that I want to share with you. I have to share it with you. First of all, I'm not going to talk about military equipment because that's pretty widely understood and appreciated, and is developed to a very sophisticated point in our history. But I am going to talk about people. And people, as you know, are moldable or destroyable depending on the approach of our communities. In wartime, we were forced to go into the draft to build the forces quickly. And that's World War II, that's Korea, and that's Vietnam. But now, as you probably are aware, we have an all-volunteer force. And the difference between those two is amazing. It's immense. Because the all-volunteer force has high morale, has very professional performance, and they go about their business with absolutely admirable success. And that was a major difference in the capabilities of the draft era and the all-volunteer force. San Diego, and I want you to understand this and appreciate this, San Diego has been a key to the building of high morale for the military. And that's done in so many different ways. Of course, we have a large segment of the defense components right here in the San Diego area, so it's paid off. It paid off in many different ways. But some of you should know, and probably do, that the Padres, of all people, have led the sports world in building morale for the military. You may know that they have every Sunday home game during the season. They have a military day, and they invite and sponsor and praise the various services, through all the services, active and reserve, and it's an amazing thing. They usually have a unit commander there who they interview on television for the broadcast, and anyway, the fact that they have led this has spilled over into the community to other civilians, and the support for the military now has been increasing here. And not only that, but the Padres have set the example that is very useful, and other sports organizations around the country are adopting that same procedure. So the morale for the military that we do have today is higher than it's probably been forever. I think that's a very commendable thing, and it's something that I wanted you to understand and know about for our community. The military's also recognized every game at the Padres. They have both right before the national anthem each time, they recognize retirees, active duty, families, and ask them all to stand and be recognized, and the applause is very, very warming. And that spills over, and those community people who are not military recognize the benefit that provides, and they're now equipped to do good things in behalf of the military and think highly of the military. That's a very strong plus. Our military members are inspired by that kind of treatment, and as a result, as they leave the service, they'll take that with them and spread it further. So thank the Padres. They've done the nation a very, very strong, good service, and I think we should be proud of them. But there's other issues that we have to deal with, and that's what I have to discuss with you tonight. Today, when it comes to federal funding of our Department of Defense, our military, both active duty and reserve, we are failing on a national level. Here are some facts that you need to know to put that in perspective. The Air Force in 1976 was manned with 907,000 active duty, not including civil service, not including Guard and Reserve. That was the active duty force, 907,000. Today, less than 330,000. Almost only 1/3 of what it was during the Vietnam conflict. What does that do to our capability, this national capability of ours to go forward? The other services were similarly affected. So we got to do something about it. Further reductions are inevitable under the new rule called sequestration, which nominally says they're going to reduce the federal budget by 10%. But if you think about it, what is 10% after the reductions that are already made? The Department of Defense for this fiscal year, the current 2013, has a 10-year period where they are committed to reduce the military funding by $487 billion. Well, what does that do to the existing force today? Not only that, but sequestration adds another $150 billion to that stack of reductions. And this is the kind of thing that was listed in a speech from the Secretary of Defense, Chuck Hagel, on the 31st of July to the Congress. He tried to outline what that would do to this Defense Department. These are some of the things that he mentioned. They would reduce the active duty Army forces, which are currently 490,000, down to as low as 380,000. That's a 22% reduction in the ground forces in the Army. They would reduce the Marine Corps from 220,000 now to as low as 150,000. That's nearly 32% of the Marine Corps. The Air Force, the Navy carrier strike forces were supposed to be reduced from 11 to as low as 8 for worldwide coverage, and that's 27% reduction there. So what I'm telling you is they're absolutely irresponsibly cutting without respect to what that impact will have. They said they would retire older Air Force bombers, as many as 5 tactical squadrons, and C-130s as well. And I didn't focus that just because I'm a C-130 driver, was a C-130 driver, but they take down the mobility of the force that we have remaining when you take away that C-130s. They would reduce special operations forces. This force is essential in today's environment. We can't do without our special operations forces. They would cancel modernization of our military systems for 10 years. This would devastate research development and our supporting industries. What does that do to the job market? What does that do to the overall economy of this nation? You know the answers to that. They also said they would cancel development of new weapon systems. for the same period. This would devastate research and development and the supporting industries for the R&D. As you can see, I'm pretty frustrated about that, and I think you need to be aware of it, and we need to collectively do something about that. And that means write our congressman, call our congressman, protest this, and at minimum, we need to cancel the DOD participation in sequestration. In other words, at least turn back that part of the national devastation that would cause. I'm sorry to bring you that news, but I think it's essential that we spread that word.
Right.
And we need to do something about it individually. Let that, please, be a high priority on your list. I'm sorry to bring you the bad news, but unfortunately, that's the way it is. I'd like to close by saying thank you, Jim, for your role in this whole thing, for running the ship and keeping us pointed in the right direction throughout this great event. Keep smiling, keep remembering the qualities that you see around this room, and let's duplicate them and triplicate them in our neighborhoods and in our family activities. It's the people that count. Don't forget that. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Lois. I appreciate that. Well, it's easy to do when you've got some pretty talented people to draw on. You can't hear me. I said it's easy to do when you have very talented people to draw on. And we have those people in our class, and we're very, very fortunate, I think.